hidden treasures. Right here in Sulphur Springs, culturally speaking, yes. If you're yet unaware of the treasures in community theater that exist in our own downtown area, get to know the Sulphur Springs Community Players. 18 Country TV spoke with members David Woody and Joe McCorkle today at Main Street Theater about the beginnings of the 11-year-old organization.
The incorporation date from the state was July 1st, 1980. And we had actually, it took us about, if my memory serves me correctly, about a year, 9 months to a year, we had started this until we got that document in hand. So we're actually, officially, we're 11 years old this month. In actuality, it's probably about 12 from the time it started. It's an interesting way it started if you'd like to get into that. There was a lady here by the name of Karen, and I can't remember her maiden name, but Karen Wood, her married name. Her maiden name is Karen Wood, Dr. Ben Wood's daughter. She was the professor or drama teacher at high school at that time, and she had one of those summer classes, continuing education type things, and she held a class in theater. I don't remember exactly what the name was. And there were several of us that showed up that had background in that class, and it kind of grew from that as the idea started germinating. And for some reason, my wife and myself and a couple of others were over at a friend's house at a party. And I don't even remember why we were there. It was one during the summer. We were having watermelon and barbecue and that sort of thing, and we just started talking. And somebody said, "Well, why don't we form a community theater, a little theater group?" And somebody else said, "Yeah, let's do that," not knowing what we were getting into. And it grew from that, where we got the seed started at that point. And it just so happened at that time there had been an influx of people into the community that had background, some professional, some in scholastic, and some that had majored in it in high school. We had just had in college. We had a couple that had moved back. The man was originally from here, Bill and Jamie Burnett. He had done professional work in Hollywood, so had she. He had taught at the college level, and he primarily done his professional work in the technical end. John Gore, whose house we were having a get-together at, had done college work and was working at the radio station. Susan, Linda Stanford, was working at the radio station, and she had been involved in theater in college, and I had majored in drama in college. And then, of course, Karen and her husband were both. Karen was teaching, and matter of fact, she's head of a department at some high school on the coast, and it's taken her class or her group to the state competitions on numerous occasions now, in one state at least once, maybe 2 or 3 times.
Is that Karen McIntyre?
Karen McIntyre, that's right. Karen and Bill McIntyre. And so it kind of grew from that, and we found another couple that they had never done theater, live theater, but they had been performers professionally or semi-professionally with the bands. And we had 2 or 3 people like that, and we just kind of jumped into this thing. It was kind of like the old, what was the old movie that the kids put on, and they say, "Let's do a play," and we'd say, "Well, let's do a community theater," not knowing what all we had to do. And it was, the more we got into it, the more work we found out just how difficult this thing was going to be, even to get to go in to get nonprofit status and get the bylaws written up and get the corporation papers. And we found 2 or 3 more people within the community at that time had either done community theater. In fact, one man that I remember that he had done it for 30 or 40 years in various communities, and he happened to be really good at that. And so it started out that way. And we had quite a bit of interest. It seemed like at first we had a lot of people involved, and then as it became more evident that this wasn't just something you could play at and it survived, and we had people started dropping out when they realized that it was more than just play, it was a lot of work involved.
David, how did you enter the scene?
Joe, who has been with the organization since the beginning, has most recently been involved in the filming of JFK the Movie in the Dallas area. Others in the local theater group have performed outside Sulphur Springs as well.
Worked a couple, three films, and of course a lot of us have done things prior to coming into this community, either in high school or, college, high school, or maybe other community theaters, but just, branching out from here. We've got, I think, Patsy Magnus, I believe she sung professionally at one time. There's probably 2 or 3 others, but I'm sorry, we're probably not going to talk to you about that. But they're some of the, I guess what you would call the old stalwarts here have branched out and do some work in other areas, which is good for us because they bring back new ideas.
A 17-member cast is currently in rehearsal for The Paper Chase for August 3rd. Director David Woody explains the story.
And this play has something for everybody. It has comedy, it has a love story, it has some dramatic moments, it just has a very nice appeal, and it's a show that everyone will leave with a very good feeling.
2 more productions remain in the 1991 season: Frankenstein the Musical, to be staged during Halloween, and 40 Carats for the Christmas season. As always, the Sulphur Springs community players welcome community participation.
We want new people to be involved. That's the point of community theater. You see, it's a building thing. It's not just, a very small group of people who do this just because, that they're doing it. It's for the community, and we want community involvement. And as Joe was stating earlier, we have lots of positions for people if they don't feel comfortable with the idea of being on stage, but they would like to be involved. We have lots of things that have to be done because your backup people, lighting, sound, backstage people, carpentry and all that. You can't do a show without it. We need all people with all kinds of interests. And if they, when we have our open auditions, people who don't want to be on stage can come in too and talk to the people who are directing and setting up the technical thing and find out, what there is to do.
At Main Street Theater, Enola Gay, 18 Country News.